Welcome back. Finally today we're going to do my version of bread and butter pudding. First thing you might notice is there's no butter, but bread pudding doesn't quite have that ring to it. To make it you're going to need 4 bits of bread, 2 bananas, 150 ml of cream, a pinch of cinnamon, 1 egg, 50 grams of caster sugar and some honey, and lastly something to make it in. So depending on all this stuff here is for 1. Depending on how many people you have, you just times it by that, as including your container. So to start things off, we're going to need to make our bread the same size as our baking dish. So just as a bit of a guide, put it on top. Doesn't have to be perfect. Then just work it around it. Try to take most of the crusts off as well. They're not really a great feature of the dish. What I'm also doing here is cutting inwards on a bit of an angle because my dish is smaller at the bottom than it is at the top. So this means they will fit in more snugly. So there we go. As you can see, it's not a perfect circle or anything, but that doesn't really matter. So I'll get rid of all my crusts. Take those down the park later for the birds. And we can put that aside for now. Next thing I'm going to do is mash my bananas. So when you're doing this, it's always better to get your bananas when they're a bit more ripe. Mine are a little bit under here, so I'm having a few dramas with it, but the riper the better. Unless you're looking for a workout, of course, and then get the greenest ones you can find. So now they're mashed up, they can go to the side as well. Now we're going to make our egg mix that goes on top and that makes it into a pudding. So start off by cracking your egg in. Give that a bit of a whisk just to break it up. Now to that, add a pinch of cinnamon, maybe 2 because I like it. And now we're going to add our sugar as well. Most of these ingredients are already in your cupboard at home, and I mean that's what I like to do with most of my dishes. All you'd need to go out and buy is some bananas and you should be right to make this one. So once your sugar's combined like this, it's time to add our honey. So just a small squirt. Sounds a lot easier than it is. There we go. And I've accounted for the honey and the amount of sugar we put in, so it won't be overly sweet. Mix that through and now we'll add our cream as well. Now you want to make sure you combine this really well now, because this is what's going to make it into a pudding. So making sure your honey doesn't get stuck on the bottom or anything. You want to just take probably 20 seconds just to make sure it's all nice and smooth. So make sure it's well combined and then we can get started on making our pudding. So, pre-greased baking dish. Then we want to put our first layer in, which will be our bread. So tuck it in nicely. I might even just take that bit of crust off there. I've missed a few little bits. You don't want to use fresh bread for this dish. You always use bread that's a little bit old. And if you've only got fresh bread, just leave it out on the bench for about an hour and that should do the trick. So once we've got that in there like that, nice and snug little fit, then we're going to put our banana on. This is normally the part where you would put butter in a bread and butter pudding, but I think this is a little bit healthier and has quite a good bit of flavour to it as well. So you can see there, just a nice thin coating, don't have to go overboard. So onto your next layer, get that in there. I've always, like with all these layers, if you need to make a little bit of room, try and take the crusts off. So there we go, that's in as well. So make sure you try and get as many layers in there as possible. I think I've overestimated a bit here with 4 pieces of bread, but I was hopeful. I'm only going to manage 3, but you can see that's another nice tight snug fit. You don't want to go right up over the top because then when you pour your egg mixture in, it's going to overflow. So that's nice and tight and beautiful. So it's time to put our egg mix over the top. So, on it goes. Whoop, went a little bit hard there. So next one in. You might not get all of your egg mix in there, but you certainly don't want to be whipping up another batch, so it doesn't hurt to put a little bit too much in. It all depends on the bread, how much it's going to soak it up. Might give it a little bit of a hand here, see if I can fill some gaps. But I reckon that'll do it. Once it's sat there for 30 seconds and the level hasn't dropped at all, then you know that it's full and it's not going to take any more on. We've just got to pop this to the side for half an hour. The reason we do this is so it can soak it all up, because we don't want to have a gluggy pudding. This will mean that it's nice and firm and springy. So I'll just pop that to the side. But lucky for you, I got up early this morning, so we don't have to wait at all. Now we want to chuck this in the oven at 180 degrees for around half an hour. If it starts to burn on top, then we'll put a bit of foil on top. But I know with this oven here that we'll be right. So into the oven for half an hour. So it's been half an hour now at 180 degrees. So I'm going to pull it out and have a look. Pretty confident though. Yep. And it looks absolutely magical. The best way to tell if it's cooked is just give it a bit of a tilt. And if you can see any liquid, it's not cooked. But this one here, it's got a beautiful brown coating on top. Now, traditionally, you'll let this sit for 5 minutes, and all that does is mean it all just sort of, the air comes out and it firms up. It makes it easier to come out, but it smells so good, I'm not gonna wait that long. So just flip it out if you've greased it well enough. And there it is, beautiful. A little bit jelly-like, thought it wasn't cooked then, but it's not. It's just a nice little bit of custard on top. Now we have a beautiful banana, honey, cinnamon bread pudding. Now you can see why I went with bread and butter pudding. Should become a classic in your house. Thanks to the guys down at Meals on Wheels, especially Nelson. And we're going to put our link on our website. So if you think you can go help them out in your local area, that's a great thing you can do. But also on our website are our recipes, not just for this week, but all the ones from the past as well. So check them out. And don't forget to become a fan on Facebook too. I'll see you next week.
Signing his life away?